So I know that it's probably a little bit better now.
Uh,
Just going to see if this other stream is recording.
can you hear me?
Yeah?
Yeah, can you hear us?
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna try it without the headset.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. There's a possibility it could be a headset because the connection seems clear.
Yeah.
You know, I'm hearing everything you guys are saying. Uh, does it sound like it's maybe a little bit better?
Yeah, it's good, and I'm just hoping that we did actually manage to record that section because, as I said, I'm just learning. So, so go ahead with your question.
Yeah, so you were telling me about that it not necessarily we had to be entangled with the other place or.
It's another one of those kind of misconceptions that have been perpetuated by the scientific community. So when they describe entanglement, it's accurate to an extent. It's all about the perspective and the context in which it's being described. But the quantum entangled state is described as a special characteristic that only comes about when two systems interact in a special way. If you look, though, at the more advanced kind of theories that are being developed right now, especially the field-based theories like from Nassim Harramein, it's really that all sectors of physical reality, of the world, the universe, etc., they're all in constant interaction all the time. There's not this separation. At the more fundamental level, they're intrinsically entangled. And this should be readily apparent to every scientist, because if you talk about the universe, the present theory is that it started from a big bang at a quantum scale. So it's been entangled from the beginning. Everything was in the smallest volume possible, and then it expanded out. And so that entanglement is an intrinsic property, and it's actually the opposite. You have to have special circumstances to create a virtual isolation, a virtual separation. Of course, it can never be separated or isolated. You can only create like the seeming illusion of that occurring. But in the case of this experiment, I just want to check, how's the sound now?
It's good. It's good. We're definitely going to have to do this again, and I'm, be happy to pay you for that. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who want to talk to you. So we'll take up your lunchtime. It'll be teleportation hour.
Because I'm happy to talk. Anytime. Really.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many. It's just, I think that people, especially at the school anyway, are so ready to, have experience of, teleportation. I mean, I know that you're saying that it's already happening, but to fully teleport, like some of the remote viewers call it, like a full sight immersion. Just fully there with your bodies, you can hold hands, touch,
Consciously.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that acceptance on both sides makes a difference to actually having that full experience. But I mean, we should be we should be doing this stuff. This is the future.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, uh, I just, I don't know how long it will actually be before we're really ready to be able to access that natural state of that we're doing all the time of teleportation, because really the human morphogenetic field, the collective consciousness, has such a restriction on it. You know, so it's like I know, like myself, Nassim Harramein, all these guys, we know it.
Have you done it? Have you physically teleported from one place to the other?
Oh, yes,
Cool.
but it's not like something that I could sit here and be like, okay.
You're gonna show up.
It's more like there's intervention to actually overcome the constraints of the human morphogenetic field. So there's intervention that takes place.
Intervention from where?
Well, from beings who can do it, who that is their more.
So who's who? Can you tell us who those beings are that are working with you?
Well.
It's your future selves, past selves, parallel selves.
All of the above. Because, so when you talk about beings who do this, I mean, in a conscious, directed effort, we do it, but they do it.
So that's your future self that can already do it, right?
Absolutely.
Working with you now.
And parallel selves as well. But in this case, that's true, that's accurate. But it's a little bit like if you were talking about your past self, like say incarnation 1,000 years ago. You say, yeah, that's my past self, but I mean, only from a certain perspective, because, you were you, and like I am me, right? That past self or future self, it's a different person, but that's not to be confused, because actually, since the time it's taken for me to say that, I'm a different person. I've had this completely new set of experiences. My genome has remodeled itself based on those experiences to better adapt myself to it. The molecules in my body have completely rearranged. They're actually not even the same molecules. I'm not even in the same room. Different person, right? So these beings, so this is a natural, intrinsic part of the universe, and once that's accepted or understood, you quickly realize that there's other beings that are doing this, and there's nothing stopping them from being here like that in a second, from across the universe, from the future, from parallel realities. It's just, bam, they're here.
Right.
And because they do this, your parallel self, future self, or whatever it may be, you might special interactions with them, and so you know.
So are they beaming you up to their ship a lot? Like every night? Or all the time?
No, you know, um, it's been about 3 times that happened that I know it has happened because you know, my body has gone through a frequency shift. I mean, like, I have ringing in my ears. It's a little bit like difficult to be in the room. It almost feels like I just got teleported. You know, but I think though, you know, there's a lot of us that have experienced this. A lot of us who have experienced it who don't remember it because you know it's a lot like the lucid dream state. You know, how hard is it to remember a dream? You know, it's almost like the ethereal nature of when you teleport.
I know,
it's more What's that?
I think that understanding, you know, dimension, like I remember at the conference, you spoke a little bit about multidimensionality, and you know, this whole idea of parallel lives and you know, states, and how we can exist in multiple states simultaneously, and you know, an ascended state. You know, and how are we going to start traversing through dimensions? How can we shift into, you know, dimensionally different place? It's I mean, that's I think what our body's busy doing for those that are ready. You know, it's getting used to being shifting dimensions, and that's a scary thing for the body. It feels, you know, traumatized.
That's why, you know, that's why at this point, it almost only happens if there's intervention, because you have to override the body's survival instincts. The ego, the body, it thinks it's going to die. It does not want to do this. You know, you experience the same thing just with what they call, you know, astral projection, which is like another kind of take on what we're talking about. You know, the idea that you're leaving your body, which isn't accurate or true, you know, fundamentally. But so, well, I think that there's some intermediary steps that have to be taken first. So it's just like with the internet. You know, that this is one of those intermediary steps. So, you know, 30 years ago, or even longer, you know, the idea of being able to sit and have a face-to-face conversation with somebody thousands of miles apart, you know, that's crazy. How could that be done, you know? So the technology kind of acclimatizes us to it so that we can take little baby steps as a collective. So that it's like, oh, that's not so weird. You know, it's like, it's not unnatural. You know, so actually I think that the first kind of teleportation will probably be done with technology. I think that we'll need that technological intervention before we can begin to access our own innate ability, which we're doing all the time. But
Yeah, I mean, I know there's a lot of people that are teleporting. I mean, there's not a lot, but you know, having that experience of jumping in time and space. But I mean, like people that have done a lot of meditation. I mean, the Buddhists, some of the higher, you know, kind of, I don't know what you call them, but more advanced meditators or whatever that can control their states. I mean, they've done it. I think I've even had a teleportation experience, except I jumped. My experience was jumping up to a point in the light where I was just, you know, it felt like my body had evaporated. I was doing a discipline at the school, and I had my blindfolds on, and I felt this pressure on top of my head. And I'd been concentrating on you know, the wheel within the wheel, like spinning bands that kind of creates that analogical moment. And I put my concentration on this pressure that was on top of my head, and the next thing I was up like 3 levels up. I felt like I was in just visible light. I was just a dot. There was no people, place. It wasn't like I'd died, because there was no people there. There were no things, no places, no nothing. Just me, a dot, and light all around. And there were 3 time spirals that I could see going down below me. 1 spiral to the past, to an event in the past. 1 to the present field that I'd been on, and 1 to 2,000 years in the future. And I could see down all 3 of them. And I probably panicked, so I ended up coming back. But the way that I came back was like, it felt like I was recoagulating down a spiral. It was like that, you know. And I was back in my body on the field, still with the blindfolds on, still focusing. But I didn't know who I was, what my name was, what I was doing there. I had absolute dissociation. And then I had, I mean, many, it's a long story, we can share it on another talk, but, and I don't even know how it connected to what we were saying, but it felt like I had a jump, you know, and when I came back, my brain felt like it had been put in this 1,000-volt generator, because I didn't feel like my body was solid anymore. It was like just plasma. And for a long time, it was like I was so scared, because it kept feeling like I was going to go. I was going to be pulled to this higher frequency. So my personality, my identity, my ego was absolutely freaked out for a long time. You know, it was interesting.
Yeah, that's all the key characteristics of teleportation, except, you know, that was like a frequency shift to
visible light,
hyperdimensional space, you know, where things are unfolding, where you can actually watch it from like the super space. You can watch like future, past, and present timelines, like unwinding. You know, it's just amazing though, because that is actually a kind of common, when that experience is had, that's kind of a something that is oftentimes seen are these time spirals. I know I've experienced a similar thing. So I was watching these 2 coming together, collided.
Wow. Was that past and future selves coming together?
Yeah,
cool.
It was like
beautiful.
It was a really like intense thing.
Wow.
But even you know, I've had friends who, you know, I've had experiences, and like, you know, they described it as spiral of time. It's just interesting that's, you know, within science, that's corroborating evidence. You can start to be like, everybody's kind of seeing this. there's something to it, right? It's like, it's interesting.
I know. I know. There's so much to say, William, and I hope maybe we can make some more time, because I've got questions about many things, and it's nice to just share.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm getting calls, so I really, yeah, I probably should run.
That's
But
great.
Let me think. It probably need to be next week.
That's fine. That would
Because
be great.
okay. I'm going to the Big Island for the first time this weekend.
Nice.
So
So where do you live now?
what's that?
Where do you live now?
I'm in Kauai.
Hawaii.
I was in Oahu and Honolulu. I jumped islands to Kauai. It's the uppermost island of the chain. So I've been to all of them except the Big Island. That's what it's called, the Big Island. So this will be the completion of seeing all the islands after next weekend. Right? Yeah, so it's,
Enjoy your new experience then.
What's that?
Enjoy your new experience.
Oh,
That, so.
Yeah, it'll be an adventure. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, thanks so much, William.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so nice to see you on your ship, you know, and know that we're just there all together.
Yeah. And I'll try to think of more straightforward way to explain the epigenetics, because it's not so technical. I always try to think how to explain it in kind of the clear, straightforward fashion.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of nice, like I often think of like a piano, or like depending on which thoughts you're having, or what the shape of your song, or your expression is, so those keys get played.
You see, that's the thing, is those analogies are so great for kind of getting across the idea of it. It's like I have to resist, though, like going into some full-on technical explanations. But sometimes that can help too. But.
Yeah, the technical is great, because I mean you've got to know both. You've got to be able to say, And cymatics is another great thing to show people, that sound creates form.
Oh, yeah. And sound is actually one of the epigenetic mechanisms in itself. There's sound transmission. They call it a phonon wave. It'll propagate along the DNA. That actually is involved in transmitting and processing information, actually in a quantum coherent fashion. So
that's why it's so important what we say, because what we say also reaches our epigenetic soup.
Well, I've got to run.
All right, thanks a lot. Send lots of love to Nassim, and we'll chat again, okay?
Excellent.
Lots of love, William. Bye. Bye.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Bye.